Hey, it's Barb. It's Sunday, and I wanted to cook something so super yummy. I wanted comfort food, and this is what I came up with. It's a beautiful, flavorful, vegan meatloaf, or we should call it a vegetable loaf. But you get it, it's a loaf, and it's sliceable, and it's so good. It came out so good. I can't wait to show you how this all came together. So let's get going. We're going to talk sauce. Yeah, it's important. This meatloaf or vegetable loaf had a sauce, a barbecue sauce, and I made it from tomato sauce and molasses and a little bit of brown sugar and some vinegar and all my favorite spices that go into barbecue. There's tons of barbecue sauce recipes that you can find, but I like to make my own because I like to control what goes in it. That's pure and simple, the reason why I do it. And I also think I make a more flavorful barbecue sauce. But you could easily use ketchup. And I want to show you that something clever that I learned about the sauce, no matter what kind of sauce you use, you put a little bit of it in the baking pan before you add your, either if you're making a meatloaf or you're making the vegetable loaf that I'm going to show you today, that sauce in the bottom really helps it to release and to taste extra yummy. So don't forget to put sauce in the bottom. Mise en place, a term I learned in vegan cooking school, plant-based cooking school. So that means is that you get all your stuff together in one place. Mise en place means that you are going to put everything together in one place that you're going to use to cook your recipe. And this recipe comes together very quickly. It's got beans and oatmeal, and it's got onions and garlic. It's got salsa, which I made my own salsa. But if you look at the plate over on the left, that plate has all of the ingredients, the vegetable ingredients. And this is a clean out your refrigerator vegetable kind of thing. We've got carrots and bell peppers and cabbage. You could use zucchini. I've got kale on there. And I've got a little bit of jalapeno. Don't forget the jalapeno. Of course, the binders are your oatmeal there and your beans. And the spices are herbes de Provence, garlic, white pepper, black pepper, and parsley. So let's get cooking. Let me show you what we do. I'm learning to cook without oil. So this is the onions and the mushrooms in the pan, and you start them out in a dry pan. I sprinkle a tiny bit of salt on top to help release the juices, and you just start the process of slowly, actually not so slowly, it's a moderate heat, and you get those things caramelizing. Why? Well, it's fond. And that's a cooking term that describes the nice brown stuff that gets on the bottom of the pan. That's where your flavor is. So in this particular set of pictures, you can see the fond is beginning to build. The vegetables, the onions and the garlic and the mushrooms are caramelizing. And I deglaze it with a little bit of water, which is great. And that goes back onto the vegetables and creates a really yummy flavor. After you get the caramelization going and a little bit of the water to coat everything, then you just simply add the rest of your vegetables. You stir it up and you begin cooking and you soften them. The loaf does cook for about an hour, but you want to actually get your veggies going ahead of time. And then you add in the binders, and those binders are the oatmeal, the beans, and the salsa. And you mix it all together, you give it a good stir, and when it all gets sort of starting to stick together, it's time to get out your potato masher, and you're going to mash it up a little bit so you kind of break the beans down a little bit further. It helps to make the loaf much more spreadable. And then back to the loaf pan again. You can see that I've got the barbecue sauce in the bottom. And then what we're going to do is take that pan where we put all of our ingredients and we're going to layer it inside or up on top of that barbecue sauce. I can't stress enough how clever that idea is, and I hope you give it a try. So let's pack it in. We're going to get this loaf going. Yep, here it is. And you can see that there are some full beans still. You can see the oatmeal. But I'll tell you, it's really yummy when it's done to cut into it and have some chopped beans and a little bit of whole beans. You can see how the kale all got mashed into that too. Give it a good spread down with a spoon. Pack it in. It's really important to get it really in. And then we're going to sauce it up again. We're going to add the rest of that barbecue sauce to the top of it. And you can see that it makes a pretty good size serving of this. This is good enough for your family or for you and another, or leftovers, and freeze it, whatever you want to do. But this really is a wonderful size recipe. And yeah, we're going to bake it. And now here's the finished product. And you can see that it did really pack down. My tip to you is please let it cool when you bring it out of the oven, 10-15 minutes, and flip it over in your hand, and you will get the loaf to come out so super simple. And yeah, some more close-ups of it. You can see how it's nice and tight. The texture's great. The veggies are super soft. It's sliced like a dream. And I served it with baked potato and another veg, although there's plenty of veg in here. So this is like getting your veg in with your meat or your loaf. And you can see the texture is amazing. Cutting through the beans. This is the best loaf I've ever made. I am so stoked how it came out, to tell you the truth. I've tried lots of them and haven't always been happy with it. So here's another shot of it. The barbecue sauce on the top got nice and caramelized, and it really intensified the flavors. The bottom sauce does not intensify in flavor and doesn't become this caramelized. So it did cook down, and I was so happy when I turned the loaf over after I loosened all the edges, and it just fell out in my hand, and I put it on the board, and it made it super easy. Please give this a try. You will not regret it. As always, the recipe is below.